welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Rye, and this is Rye's Reading Corner, and today I'm bringing you my end of the year TBR. So I feel like 2020 has been one of those years where it's been like the longest year, but like the quickest year all in one, which I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, it's been a weird, crazy year. A lot of good things have happened, like being pregnant, but obviously the world is a shit show right now. So it's been definitely interesting. So I am going to be sharing with you 10 books I would really like to read by the end of 2020. It's a mixture of books that are new releases as well as some backlist books. I only picked books that I currently have on my TBR. There's definitely books that I want to read that are on my like Christmas list for my family, but I don't want to put these on that, like those books on my top 10, just not knowing if I'm gonna get them, and then, you know, not having many weeks left to really read those books if I get them for Christmas. So I have a variety, like I said, of different genres, but these are in no particular order. So the first book is a book that's super hyped right now. I really want to read it. I've heard literally nothing but good things, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I have never read anything by V.E. Schwab, so this will be my first book. If you're not familiar with what the premise of the story is, it's about a girl who takes a deal, and the deal is like she'll have eternal life, and she will, the consequences though is that no one will remember her. However, like 300 years later after she made this deal, she's in a bookshop, I think in France maybe, and she meets someone that actually remembers her. So it is a chunky book, which you'll see. I have a lot of chunky books on this list, but I've heard absolutely nothing but great things about this book, so I'm really excited to have this done, and it sounds like it could potentially be a top book of 2020, but so yeah, I'm really excited to kind of find out more about this one. All right, the next book is by an author that I didn't really care for her first book, but I want to give her another shot, and that is Burn Our Bodies Down by Roy Power. Roy Power wrote Wilder Girls, which I've been very honest and forthcoming with my feelings about that book, but it was her debut novel, so I wanted to give this book a try, and I heard a lot of people that didn't like Wilder Girls actually liked this book more. I don't know too much about it, just that it's something about our girl named Margot, and it was just her and her mother, and there's some type of kind of like mystery behind the mother, and I think it has kind of like like a spooky type, suspenseful, but nothing like too crazy. It's not a super long book, but I really want to give Rory Power another try this year, so that's why I kind of included her on my top 10. So the next book I really would like to read is Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. This will actually be a reread for me. I had read this book, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, and then I absolutely loved everything about it. It was a 5-star read, but then it was a long time before I picked up the sequel. Just, I don't know, life happened, and I didn't really remember this enough to really get into the sequel, so I actually had to put the sequel down. But I want to read this book again because I just loved it so much, and I want to really read the rest of the series. So it's about a girl named Ruby, and she wakes up and she notices something in her head, like she feels different, and then her parents like lock her into their garage and like calls this number, and she's brought to like a camp almost, and all these they have different colors depending on like their power or whatever, and they're treated not great there, and it's a science fiction type book. It's really interesting, and I know I'm not explaining it well at all, but I really did enjoy it, and I've never actually seen the movie of it. I know it says here that it's a motion picture, but maybe after I read the series, that would be something that I would be interested in seeing, so we'll see. All right, the next book I'd like to finish by the end of 2020 is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahern. I know that there was just a sequel release not that long ago. This book I kind of want to read more because I've heard so many controversial things about this. Like, some people really love Serpent and Dove, and I know some people absolutely hate Serpent and Dove. So I'm really excited to like get my own opinion on this. I know it's pretty much just it's about a witch and a witch hunter. They have to get married, and I don't know much more about that. But like I said, I think I want to read it more just because I want to form my own opinions, as I've heard so many like polar opposite opinions on this book. Again, chunker of a book. So I would like to read this, and then maybe if I like it, I could go into the sequel in 2021. All right, next book I would like to read, kind of a shift from kind of this fantasy things I've been talking about, and that is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. So my reasoning behind wanting to read this one is because this year I read The Poet X and Clap When You Land, and they were both instant 5 stars for me. And I absolutely love her as an author, and this is the only book that she has out currently that I have not read. So I would like to have read all of my Elizabeth Acevedo books before the end of the year. This is a book about a young lady, and she had a child when she was young, and she's really into cooking, and she kind of finds her passion through cooking, and this was a gift by Michelle from Michelle Reads YA. I'll link her channel below. She's amazing. But I'm super excited book, and the book itself is just absolutely gorgeous, the hardcover like inside. So yeah, so I would like to have all of Elizabeth Acevedo's book completely finished, and I'm assuming this will probably be another 5-star because I absolutely adore her writing style. All right, next book I would like to read by the end of 2020 is Horrid by Katrina Leno. So I was supposed to read this for a readathon that I'm currently working on, but I kind of had to switch. But I really want to read this because I've heard nothing but great things about this story. I've not read anything by Katrina Leno before, so this will be my first book by her. It's about a girl whose father had passed away, and they moved back to her childhood home in the New England area, and it sounds like she finds solace in old books and memories of her dad. She begins making friends, but there are also some bullying from the resident bad seed and struggles to tamp down her own worst nature in response. And she seems to be spiraling. I don't know. It's one of those, I think, those from what I've heard described as like a slow burn, spooky book, and that's kind of what is drawing me to this book, and the cover is just absolutely gorgeous. This is an Owl Crate edition, I believe it is. So yeah, and it's not super long, which some of these other books are chunkers of books. So I am really excited to kind of dive into Horrid on this one. All right, the next book, a completely switch from YA to adults, and this is The Switch by Beth O'Leary. She wrote The Flat Share, which I absolutely love. The Flat Share, I gave that 5 stars. So this is about a granddaughter and daughter who both kind of in a rut in their life, and they swap places. And there seems to be some type of budding romance that they both experience. But I am excited. Like I said, I enjoyed Beth O'Leary's writing in The Flat Share, so I'm hoping that will play out in the switch. I've heard that a lot of people love this book, and I've already done rereads of it this year. So I'm hoping that this will be as good as The Flat Share. But again, at least it's a shorter book. So it's not something that's going to take up too much time. All right, the next book is a backlist book, and this book I originally kind of heard about from Amanda at Ginger Snap Reads. Again, awesome girl. I'll post her all her information down below. Definitely go follow her. And it's The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. So I've recently really dived more into fantasy, so this really wasn't on my radar. But she read this book and absolutely loved the entire series. And me and Amanda have a lot of, I think, kind of similar taste when it comes to books, so I feel like I would definitely like this book. I don't know too much about it. Kind of off the back, it says Jude was 7 when her parents were murdered, and she and her 2 sisters were stolen away to live in the treacherous high court of Fairy. 10 years later, Jude wants nothing more than to belong there, but many of the Fae despise humans, especially Prince Carden, the youngest and wicked son of the High King, and she must defy him. And it sounds really good. I've never read actually a book with Fae in it, so this would be my first book. I definitely have heard from just other people that the second book I think is better than the first one. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I am excited to dive into the Cruel Prince and see if I like it. I definitely am behind all the hype that was with kind of around this series, but I'm kind of late to the fantasy game, so that's my excuse. All right, another book that I would like to get to by the end of 2020 is another chunky book and another fantasy and YA, and that's A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. So I had full intentions of reading this back in August before I found out I was pregnant, before I got really, really sick, and it just never happened. So I really want to read a Sarah J. Maas book because she is so big on BookTube, and I have never read anything by her. And Becca in the books made a whole video talking about Sarah J. Maas, and she said starting with this series is kind of the way to go. And a lot of people say get through the first book, then you'll love the second book. So I'm really excited. I don't know too much about this book, just that I know that, again, it's super hyped on BookTube. And again, I feel like it has a lot of controversy. I feel like some people love this series, and I've heard some people just actually don't like it, or they don't like the first book at all, but like the second book. So I'm excited to read this one and kind of see how it goes. But again, it's really intimidating. It's a long book. All right, the next book and the last book is part of a series that I started this year. Again, it's a huge book, but it's written in like multimedia format, so it doesn't take too long to read. And that is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And this is the sequel to the Illuminae Files, or that's like the series. And so yeah, really excited to read about this book. I absolutely loved Illuminae. I think why I've been so hesitant to start this book is because this does not follow any of the same characters from the Illuminae, which you can, I have it right over here, and I have an Illuminae mug from my book box. So I think that's why I was so hesitant. But I know people just absolutely love and adore this entire series as a whole, even though that doesn't follow the same characters. So I would really like to dive into this one. I know it's so big, but it is a really quick read because it is told not necessarily like in a typical novel format. So it does go rather quickly. I've heard the audio version of this book is fabulous, and I should be reading that, but following along maybe with the book as well. So maybe I'll try it with this book. I don't know, but we'll see. So yeah, 10 books I would really like to get done by the end of 2020. Do I think it's realistic? I'm not really sure, but it's definitely a feat I would like to tackle. As I kind of go through the last, what is it, like only like 7-8 weeks left of 2020, which is insane. So if you've read any of these books, let me know which ones should I prioritize. Are there books that I should just like absolutely no, don't waste my time on? Are there books that I should definitely like start reading tomorrow? Please let me know. And hopefully I will stick to this, because I'm not necessarily the best at sticking to TBRs and kind of just go with whatever mood I am in. So let me know in the comments below again, which one should I read first? Are there any books that you really want to get done by the end of 2020? So if you are new to my channel and you would like to take this journey with me, press that subscribe button. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you liked my friend on any of other social media platforms, I have that all listed below. So stay kind, loves, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Special.